It is a great honor to stand before you tonight to introduce our keynote speaker for the evening. We have in our midst a remarkable woman, a public health physician, a purpose-driven life and career coach, and a motivational mentor. Her impressive career has made a significant impact on maternal health and public health overall. She currently serves as the president of the Ghana Physicians and Surgeons Foundation, championing the mission of the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons by advocating for public health advancement in both Ghana and North America. Her decorated career, marked by numerous high-profile emergency response deployments and prestigious awards, underscores her commitment to health equity and excellence. Her dedication and leadership in public health exemplify the mission of our organization to enhance maternal health in underserved communities like Ghana. Her work continues to inspire and drive meaningful change in the field. Now, it is my privilege to introduce someone who has made an indelible mark on public health and continues to be a beacon of hope and progress. Let's all stand on our feet and applaud our esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. Fran Abanyie.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you very much. You can all be seated. Thank you so much. Can you all hear me okay? Yes, very good. All right. Good evening to all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to start by congratulating the organizers of today's event, the 9th Annual GWAG Maternity Care Fundraising Gala. Thank you for bringing this very important topic to the forefront. As a Ghanaian-born woman myself, I strongly believe that maternity care is indeed the cornerstone of community well-being, as was so aptly mentioned in the invitation email to this event. Walk with me tonight as I elucidate this point. Maternity care, as we know, encompasses the caring of a woman during pregnancy, delivery, and after the delivery of the newborn baby. Now, here's what we don't know. Nobody knows whether the child born is going to grow up to be the next Ghanaian ambassador to the United States. The child could be the next great Ghanaian educator, one of whom emphasized the importance of women being the cornerstone of a community with the quote, "If you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you educate a nation." Dr. James Emmanuel Kwajera-Gray, the first vice principal of Achimota School, he said that. Or the child could be the next president of an esteemed Ghanaian women's organization based in Georgia, dedicated to empowering women in underserved communities in Ghana. Thank you, GWAG. The list can go on and on. The child could be a descendant of any of one of us sitting here tonight. That is why this topic is so significantly important. According to the latest WHO data, in 2020, approximately 287,000 women died during and following pregnancy and childbirth. That's almost 800 women per day. Essentially, every 2 minutes, a mother died in 2020. To put it in perspective, by the time I'm finished with this brief talk, 10 to 15 mothers would have died. Sadly, almost 95% of these deaths occur in low and lower middle income countries, with 70% alone occurring in sub-Saharan Africa, where our beloved homeland of Ghana is located. The disheartening part of this story is that most of these deaths could have been prevented. So what are the causes of the majority of these deaths? Severe bleeding, mostly bleeding after childbirth. Infection, usually after childbirth. High blood pressure during pregnancy, and complications from delivery. So what are the solutions? Education is paramount in the fight against maternal mortality. As previously mentioned, when you educate a woman, you educate a nation. This quote is especially profound in light of the culture we come from and the time in which it was said, and probably still holds true to some degree today. In cultures like ours, in Ghana, often the male child is favored over the female child. And a marriage that doesn't bear a male child sometimes is considered unfruitful. But when you really sit and think about where each of us spent the first 9 months of our lives, this notion about women being less important than the male child couldn't be further from the truth. Women are indeed the cornerstone of the well-being of our communities. Would you not agree? The other critical component of the solution to maternal mortality is access to high-quality care in pregnancy and during and after childbirth. But there are sometimes barriers to getting this high-quality care. Shortage of medical providers, inadequate facilities with not enough beds, insufficient medical equipment and supplies, and just the high cost out of pocket for traveling to the hospital or having to purchase medical supplies in order to be treated. So you can imagine some families that live in rural areas have to sell off their livelihood, whether it's their livestock or their land, in order to be able to afford this care, putting them in deeper poverty. This decision often prevents them from going to seek care and puts them at increased risk for complications that could lead to death. But I'm not here to bore you with numbers and statistics. Though as an epidemiologist, I do feel the data is important for us to see trends and progress. But there's even more important things, like the stories and experiences of loved ones that we hear about more often than we'd like. Many of us in this very room have been directly impacted by these deaths that should not have happened. So raise of hands if you've been impacted in any way by maternal death, whether it's here in the US or Ghana or anywhere in the world. That's a lot of people in this room. I know I have, and I'll share my story shortly. The importance of these tragedies are to touch us, wake us up, and force us to take action. It galvanizes the troops, us, to do something. So I have 3 stories I'd like to share with you. 3 names that I do not want you to forget. Shalon, Abba, Constance. Can y'all say that with me? Shalon, Abba, Constance. Thank you. These are 3 mothers whose lives have had a great impact on this world simply by their unique experiences that forced their loved ones to take action. The first story is the story of Dr. Shalon Irving. Many of you may have heard her name before. She's become one of the faces of Black maternal mortality in the United States. Say her name with me, Dr. Shalon Irving. Can y'all say that? Thank you. In 2017, just 3 weeks after giving birth to her first child, Shalon, a 36-year-old epidemiologist at the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, my EIS colleague and my friend, passed away. The news was harrowing, unbelievable. This bright, inquisitive, bubbly person that I sat next to week after week during our introductory classes to what life as a CDC disease detective would be like was no longer with us. This young lady who wanted nothing more in this world than to be a mother could only enjoy her greatest accomplishment for merely 3 weeks. After multiple trips to her doctor's office where concern after concern was ignored, she was found unconscious in her living room after collapsing from complications of high blood pressure. After her death, Shalon's mother was left to raise her beautiful granddaughter, Soleil, which means the sun, all by herself. Born out of this tragedy, her mother started a nonprofit organization called Dr. Shalon's Maternal Action Project, with a mission to increase awareness of the Black maternal health crisis. Remember, I said education is one of the solutions. So I ask you to say her name one more time, Dr. Shalon Irving. The next story I'd like to share is the story of Abba, a more familiar name. In summer 2001, a family friend, Dr. James Akins, a gynecologic oncologist, was in Cape Coast, Ghana, visiting his family, including his 22-year-old niece, Abba. Abba was pregnant at the time and nearing her date of delivery. After a brief trip to Accra, Dr. Akins returned to find out that his niece had delivered her baby. This should have been a time that the family was joyous. But days later after delivery, Abba started experiencing some weakness and bleeding at home, so was taken to the hospital for medical care. The next morning, the family was called by the hospital and told that she was dead. After speaking to the regional medical director to seek answers to determine what happened to this very young lady, Dr. Akins discovered that there was no senior medical staff available during his niece's admission to properly take care of her and her postpartum complication. The regional director admitted to Dr. Akins that the region needed significant help, and he implored of him to think about what he and his wife, also an OB-GYN doctor, could do to help. Out of this tragedy was born International Healthcare Volunteers, a nonprofit organization which for over 20 years has embarked on medical missions to provide maternal, pediatric, and surgical care in Cape Coast and Kumasi on an annual basis in memory of Abba. I've had the privilege of participating in many of these mission trips with IHCV, and I can tell you they are very impactful. So say her name with me, Abba. Thank you. This last story is more encouraging, I promise. Constance was a 14-year-old girl in a small village in Ghana who was given into marriage by her family. She could neither read or write. By age 35, Constance was widowed and had to take care of her 9 children all by herself. Despite her struggles, she never gave up on her children. She did everything possible to make sure her children had food on the table, clothes on their back, and their school fees were paid. What a mother. Constance would wake up early in the morning to go to work on the farm, coming home just in time to make sure her children were fed prior to seeing them off to school. While they were in school, she would go to the market to sell whatever she could muster to make, whether it was fried yam, kenke, buffroat, whatever she could get her hands on to make money to care for her children. She would then make it home just in time to see her kids come home from school, feed them, only to go back out and continue working. Despite all her efforts, at times she couldn't afford to buy her children's books, so their school teachers would assist. One of her children recalls being the only child in his class without a chop box because his mother couldn't afford it. She continued to work and did everything possible, including borrowing money wherever she could to ensure she could do the very best for her children. Her son recalls having to stay at home for a month after passing his exams and being eligible to attend Achimota School because his mother could just not afford school fees for him and his siblings. One day, this formidable woman grabbed her son by the arm, took him to the bursar's office at Achimota, and requested that her son be enrolled in school immediately, and promised that she would eventually pay it when she could. Before the bursar could even respond, she walked away. And her son was indeed enrolled in the school where he eventually graduated and ultimately became a successful doctor. Not only was he a success, his siblings also did very well for themselves because of the love, the care, the perseverance, and dedication of their mother. You can clap for that. This marginalized woman who was given away to marriage at 14 years of age went on to raise an engineer, a naval officer, a PhD graduate, a doctor, an architect, and several teachers. This is what happens when we take care of our mothers so they can take care of us. This same son that went to Achimota tells the story of an opportunity to go to Holland to be a dentist when he completed 6th form. When he told his mother about this opportunity, she adamantly said, "No, you don't want to be one of these guys that comes to the market to remove teeth. Go be a doctor and take care of women." And that is exactly what he did. She was not just his mother, she was his career advisor. And today, after years of being an obstetrician gynecologist here in the US, this doctor has a nonprofit organization named after his mother. An organization called Le Constance Center for Global Health, dedicated to advocating for health equity and maternal care for all women in Ghana in particular, but women in Africa generally. This same son, who calls his mother his hero and the strongest woman who ever lived, is Dr. Alex Boafo. He served as the 3rd president of the Ghana Physicians and Surgeons Foundation, and in partnership with GPSF, is donating towards GWAG's maternal care initiative enough prenatal vitamins for 500 pregnant women in Ghana. So when we think about maternal care, let's remember the impact a great mother like Madam Constance can make in raising her children to be champions for maternal care. So I leave you with this, a charge. I charge each of you to remember these stories beyond today. You've already shown your deep commitment to this initiative by your presence here tonight. But don't let your interest in the topic wane. Let these stories motivate you to take action. We all charge you to join the fight and come up with solutions that will make a lasting impact. Let's all partner with GWAG to ensure safe and healthy deliveries for mothers and their babies through the provision of medical supplies and equipment to maternity wards in Ghana, and empowering women with knowledge and support they need for maternal health. Don't let today be the last day you think about the importance of maternity care. After all, someone let you live rent-free in their belly for at least 9 months. Thank you.